A massive hi to everyone. As you're coming on, say hi. Tell us where you're coming in from. I know that we're having to do another recording, but we still want to hear where you're coming in from. So even if you're on YouTube right now, or if you're in the group, write down where you're coming in from, because we love to see who's joining us and what part of the world that we're touching at the moment. And today is going to be a relatively we always say this is going to be a relatively quick one, because we really want to honor your time, and we have been going over, although we did do 46 minutes yesterday, so high five, sister, because we did say that these were going to be nice and quick, and the task is only a couple of tasks as well, because we want to get you into a place of getting ready for the next module, which is the soul. But the body, this is the body knows part 2, and we're super excited to be sharing the second part of what we shared yesterday with you. And I'm going to once again hand it over to the beautiful Maya, because this is her absolutely genius. And I look forward to listening to what she shares, because she just talks so beautifully when it comes to the body, and allowing you to understand a little bit more about what's happening within Mother Earth, what's happening with our physical body, our emotional body, and all that sort of juiciness. So I'm going to pass it over to the beautiful Maya. Welcome, darling.
Thank you, Lisa. So yes, today we are on the second part of the body knows, and we're going to be talking about the earth body in the context of these circumstances. And then we're also going to be talking about the community body, the communal body, the collective body, once again, in the context of these circumstances, and any misalignment and disconnection that we can help you to relate to through our own personal experiences. So just before we begin, I also want to give you just a little bit of my own background. I mentioned, I think it was in yesterday's recording, or it might have been on the mind recording, probably on the mind recording, when we were speaking about the thought clusters that we all belong to, depending on our passion or where our genius lies once that's been discovered. And I mentioned that one of my thought clusters, it has to do with the body. Lisa mentioned I'm a yoga instructor. I'm an Iyengar, certified Iyengar yoga instructor. I teach pranayama. There are many different things that I do with the body. And I don't really like saying I'm a yoga teacher or even talking about it. And if people just sort of find that out, or that I teach pranayama, or, that I'm also a trained masseuse. That probably Lisa didn't even know that, or I might have told. Yeah. So yeah, there's actually quite a few things that I do with the body, and it's because I just have a really, a very strong curiosity about the body that I've always had since I was a kid. And there's this thing that happens when I work with the body, whether I'm teaching yoga or if I'm massaging or if I'm teaching pranayama, if I'm teaching people how to breathe or what to pay attention to in the breath, if I'm teaching people about different parts of the body, there's something that happens in my mind at the same time when I'm speaking, where I can just see the way the body works. It goes into this, it's kind of like, again, like holographic images that I have access to, where I can really see the way the lungs are working, or the way the shoulder joint is working, or not working, or I can just see, like, when I take walks, it's similar to cooking. When I describe a meal, and I get very curious about foods, when I take walks, no matter where I am, if I'm walking in a shopping center, or if I'm walking along the beach, and I love people watching, which I'm sure many of you also enjoy that as well. But when I people watch, I actually literally break apart the bodies that are in front of me. I break apart the way that they're walking, if there's more weight on one leg than the other, if I can see that there's weight in a particular joint or not. Um, if I can see any misalignment in the spine, if the shoulder is higher than the other, I look and I'm figuring out what body type, if they're endomorph, mesomorph, ectomorph. Like, I just break apart everything as and for me, that's enjoyment. It's not work or anything like that. It's just the way my mind works. And so this is how I'm aware, and I know that this is one of my zones of genius. Even when I work with other Iyengar yoga instructors or other yoga instructors, and they speak with me about different postures or the body, there's a bit of oftentimes there's a bit of a surprise, or a bit of a there's definitely just an acknowledgement that I have a way of looking into the body in a different way. Um, and my curiosity for it, it just goes, it's so deep. It's so, yeah, I'm just fascinated. I'm fascinated by bodies. So anyway, so yeah, this is kind of like my thing. I really love this. And you know, when Lisa and I are working together and with mind, body, and soul, it's always very clear that she's the mind and I'm the body. So,
And
at any
I really like, even it makes me remember something that when I was on the bike and you came up beside me, we were on the scooter and you were behind me, and you came up and said, Lisa, you've got something going on in your shoulder, you need to relax it more, you're holding too tensely, you've been not in balance. And I was like, wow. And then the minute you corrected me, my lower back pain went. It was like I was holding, I was like, oh God, my back's sore. And you just identified it, and I was like, oh, awesome. And off we went again. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Even riding around on the scooters in Bali, I'm constantly assessing people's bodies and the imbalances that I see, because I just find it really fascinating. I enjoy it. It's really beautiful for me. So anyway, let's get into figuring out, like, talking about where the Earth body is right now in this situation that we find ourselves. You know, I know that in different sources of news, we've had some reports of beaches in India being used now, being approached, being accessed by thousands and thousands of sea turtles to come and hatch and lay their eggs. The waters in Venice are clear. Many of you probably noticed that your skies are clear due to less air traffic control and also less automobiles. Probably many of you have also noticed a lot of the wildlife coming out, walking in the street, walking up towards your houses. I've noticed it a lot as well driving around Bali. I need to drive much more slowly because there are just a lot of animals in the road. I mean, there's always animals in the road, but now it's even more. It's kind of funny, quite sweet. The other day it rained, and I do need to, these are all very beautiful, beautiful stories and wonderful things that are happening, having more birds and butterflies, as we spoke with you about wild birds landing on shoulders during retreats. The other morning, it was just 2 nights ago, it rained heavily in Bali for most of the night. And so the next morning I got up, and at about 6, I went for my walk on the beach. And it was a very sad walk because I looked and saw how the sea had vomited all of our litter back onto the beach. It was kind of like this, here, take this crap that you guys put here. I don't want this crap, you know? So in terms of the Earth body and where she's at now, of course want to look at and want to observe how our changes in just a matter of 4 to 6 weeks, depending on which country you're in, how our changes have created differences in Mother Earth's body, close to you, but at the same time to also be realistic and be honest that yes, these changes have occurred, but at the same time we still have massive issues. Um, and what I'm feeling and what I'm downloading in terms of where the Earth body is at is that it's, you know, she she's sick of our crap.
Pretty much.
For lack of a softer way of putting it. You know, what we're doing, what we have done up until this point in time, it really has not been enough. And you know, we had last year we had a young woman, Greta Thunberg, come out and begin with her protesting and her declarations of really being truthful with us. A young voice being very truthful, one among many young voices and from many different countries. Lots of other young men and women, teenagers, coming out and saying, you know, what we've been doing, it really has not been enough. Um, and and so yes, you know, we have had some sighs of relief from other Mother Earth as we begin to make some changes. But at the same time, Mother Earth, you know, one of the aspects of the feminine archetype, and when I say that, I don't mean gender. What I'm talking about is just feminine energy. Is that there, when things are not working, there's a breakdown, there's a dissolution, and that is needed before we can reorganize. You know, there's this inner guidance system that brings us into a space where, you know, we break down everything that is no longer working, and we no longer give value to those things. And so this breakdown that we no longer give value to, and this dissolution, it becomes unsettling. It becomes something that you know, we feel uncomfortable with. Life is no longer predictable. Life is no longer certain. Um, and as these things begin to dissolve and disintegrate, they, you know, the earth can begin to reclaim these things. The soil can begin to be remineralized, and reworked. And these things can be returned to Mother Earth before she has her marvelous and absolutely incredible way of transforming this space and transforming this what has been dissolved and what has been disintegrated into something that something more beautiful. One of the things I also noticed when I was walking around, walking it just yesterday morning and this morning, also was just thousands and thousands and thousands of millipedes on the ground. It almost was like a bit like a horror show. You know, I was looking and I'm like, wow, where did all of these come from? And as I watched them, it kind of jogged my memory because I realized, wait a minute, this isn't something that happened overnight. I've actually been seeing more and more of these millipedes over the past 3 weeks. It's just that the other morning, I mean, they were just covering this, you know, they were really covering the sidewalks and the streets. So, you know, I what I'm feeling and what I'm connecting to, just my own connection with Mother Earth, and her Earth body during this circumstance is, you know, that we have we have this viral infection moving around that, of course, affects many people physically, especially those who are unhealthy, or who have compromised health systems, but physically in terms of being locked down or choosing to self-isolate. And that physical body, that physical enclosing and dissolution of systems that do not work, moving into as well our mental spaces and our psychological spaces, and into our fragile financial spaces. And so, this is the context that I'd like to give you, in terms of what the body, what the earth body, where the earth body is at. And I'd just like to also offer a couple of personal examples of how we have been in these types of situations with the earth body over the past few decades, many times, where we have, whether we've been voluntary, active, or passively a part of militarization of different parts of the world, whether we have been active or passively participating in corporations depleting resources in different parts of the world, whether those resources are mineral or plant or animal, or if those resources are actually human lives. We have had many circumstances and many examples of the political upheaval, again with Brexit or with the election of Trump or Boris. We've had many different pandemics coming on, from Ebola, HIV/AIDS, mad cow disease, swine flu, bird flu. And each of these times, this is Mother Earth saying, the body is just, it's had enough. This isn't working. We need to dissolve these systems. We need to move into something different. Now, moving into the collective body, how the collective body responds to this, and where the collective body is at. What I'm sensing and what I'm fearful of, what I'm sensing now, is that the collective body is actually just in a state of shock, and in a state of such uncertainty that it's practically paralyzed. And that could be a good thing. That could be a good sign, because in the past, when we've had all of these different pandemics or these political catastrophes, or we've had infiltration of corporations on pristine lands or people, or we've had indefinite war, the collective body has had a shock and then a move back into normal. It's the body is the bodies are shaken up. The bodies are not happy. They're not in agreement. They're not. They feel threatened. They feel connection with the injustice of what happens. But then, unfortunately, in the past, what has kept happening is that the collective body then it finds a misalignment and then continues to move in that misalignment in a state of just survival. But it's just not working. It doesn't work. And so, for me, what I'm living and what I'm seeing is that for that reason, we have now Mother Earth in her body attacking also the psychological and the mental mind. It's a disheartening situation. I would be untruthful and not present to say that it's something that really hurts. It feels really, it doesn't feel good. It feels physically limiting. It feels like strangling, paralyzing, um, and and so what I'd like to do is just to begin to give you a few ideas from my own life, of how I've found myself in times of the past, reacting with the collective body and recognizing that on some level I'm being asked to make a change, but I'm unable to because the collective body that surrounds me is not supportive of that. So where I'll begin is just with my own story, and I'll tell you that you know, as I mentioned and shared with you in terms of how my mind works, when things are not when things are not perfect, or when things are not, I don't want to say perfect, when things are falling apart, actually, is what I should say. And when I feel threatened or I feel insecure or unsafe, my mental state switches into uh, patterns of um, high alert, high energy, and then it also switches into states of perpetual positivity and gratitude. So I'm able to adapt very quickly, and I'm able to make changes based on my environment. That will ensure my sanity and my survival, or my sanity as I believe it will. But what's happening actually is when I switch into that gear automatically, which is just a sophisticated coping strategy. What happens actually is I disconnect from reality. I become misaligned with reality, and I move myself into a state where my body becomes rigid, eventually becomes painful. I begin to have pain in my kidneys and in my lower back, my sacrum. I usually get pain in my left shoulder and my left side of the neck. I might even get radiating pain down the right side of my right leg. And so, what happens for me is that I am trying desperately to survive and trying desperately to find a way to adapt to something that is not working for me, or that is that is a situation that's just falling apart. And instead, what I need to do is actually admit that things are falling apart, are falling apart, and allow my emotional reaction to come forth. So different ways that my body, different things that my body does is it literally just it stops working eventually. My sleep patterns go off, and 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 it just becomes physically difficult for me to move. My breathing patterns also change and go off. And what I have to say is that I've had a lot of teachers come to me and help me to find new strategies that aren't coping mechanisms, but rather they're actually working strategies to help me to build and become the person that the best person that I can be. And so one of the things that I've noticed as I've moved into these spaces of better knowing and better understanding of my body is that within my own community, I have had many times in the past, many people in my community go completely against what I know is right and true for me. So to give you an example, let's just put you back into the year 1996 and imagine what that might have been like for someone who decides that they're not going to eat meat anymore, and that they are not even giving up butter or cheese or anything like that, but just like no more meat. And what, imagine how the collective mind reacted to someone like that in 1996.
Mm.
So just to give you an example of just the difficulty, and the difficulty as well of, you know, if I wanted to do something social, if I wanted to to go to a restaurant, the panic or the disapproval or the discomfort,
Yeah.
or the embarrassment of going with a vegetarian in 1996. Even moving forward, imagine we're still, let's see, in 1990, like the year 2000, year 2000. Imagine in the year 2000, someone who, or even any time, you know, up until the year 2000, I can't remember the exact year. I think it was in 2000 and I think it was actually 2001 that the European Union began very, very slowly um, instilling laws for not smoking in public places. So imagine a person who's asthmatic as an adult in the 90s and in the early noughts, trying to do anything public, going to a museum, to a restaurant, going to a movie, or just walking in public, and not being able to breathe because someone else is smoking, and not just someone else, but 50 other people are smoking. And the again, the guilt, the shame, the embarrassment, the disapproval of that I was receiving from my family and friends because I couldn't tolerate the smoke. You know, so these are some examples that I can give you of misalignment in my own community and what I've lived through. In 2008 was when I began my first steps into fasting, and my body just very naturally moved me into a space of slowly my body would just decide, okay, today doesn't feel like putting anything in the body, okay, and just following that. And this is in 2008, and in 2008 no one was talking about fasting. 2009. So just imagine the fear, and the disapproval, the disconnect, the lack of understanding, the shaming, or the just complete unacceptance. And my own strategy eventually was, you know, just not to tell anyone what I was doing, because people's reactions were just, you know, they just couldn't understand it. And luckily now, I would say that in the year 2020, we definitely have many humans still in the collective who are very adamantly against other people deciding to eat what it is that they want to eat, or not eat what they don't want to eat. And you know, what we need to do is, again, just understand that all of us are doing our best to take care of our own bodies the best way we know how, listen to our own bodies the best way we know how, learn our own body's cues for hunger and for thirst the best way that we know how, and to apply those. And that's it. And not to be judged or demonized, or for our communities to try and scare us back into behaving in archaic ways, or in ways that our families taught us to because they didn't know anything different, or in ways that the industrial food complex has taught us to, because where on earth did it come from that we need to eat 3 meals a day, plus snacks? And who benefits from that? So I'll just leave it at that in terms of just giving you some ideas of misalignment, and connection, disconnection, my own experiences with that. And with that, I'd like to give the mic to Lisa as she shares her own experiences.
So would you like me to share a misalignment and a disconnection? Do you want me to do them?
Sure.
Yeah, cool. So I'm going to go with the misalignment because mine's a little bit like yours, but it happened very, very recently. So, and mine was when I shifted to intermittent fasting. And mine wasn't that, and I was exactly the same as you. I started not wanting to tell people, and then I was plant-based as well. I started not wanting to tell people because unfortunately, like now in the 2000s, where we are now, the 2020s, and I love the fact that everybody has so much knowledge, but unfortunately, everybody has a real deep opinion on absolutely everything you do. And some of them come from a beautiful space, but also some of them I find, like I used to find, was like quite daunting because I wanted to fit in, and I wanted to belong, and I had that deep-seated abandonment from my father leaving the day I was old, from basically every man in my life. My brother left for America. I never had any security of having. The ones I loved, except for my mum, basically left. There was a whole, go into that later. So of course I was holding on, for I didn't want people to leave me. So the people that were close to me had really big opinions about, number one, not eating food after I had worked out. Your body is just going to shut down. You have to refuel. And then the next ones were ones like, well, what do you mean you don't eat after 6 o'clock? You need to have a really good dinner. What do you mean you don't have breakfast? Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. All that beautiful programming that they had, which, it works for some people, but for me, it absolutely, and I'm not judging anyone that does it, but for me, it doesn't work for my body. Like my body, just doesn't like to get up and eat. It actually, my most productive time of the day is from 4 or 5 in the morning when I get up to 11, 12 in the 11 o'clock in the afternoon. I absolutely thrive, and I thrive better on emptiness because I'm a better channel, and I can get all these different things. There's more clarity. I'm really from my morning mindset, I'm in a beautiful meditative stage, so I have a lot of clarity come through me. I do my writing, my book, my journaling, my everything. And then after 11, 12 o'clock, I go and work out, and then I hit it into a different level, which I have realized from listening to my body, it can or can't be fueled by food. Sometimes after work out, I don't need it, and then I move into a more energetic state. And if I don't eat, I actually thrive better. Now, I'm not saying I don't eat food, don't get me wrong, because I love my food, but my body tells me when it needs it. It tells me when it needs to be refueled. It tells me when it needs to be nourished. It tells me when everything. So for me, getting back to my point of it, is it was really hard, especially when I went to Bali. And I was around people who didn't understand that where I'd shifted to. And I remember going out to dinner when I first got there to a friend's house, and they're both huge meat eaters. And their chef prepared a beautiful dinner, and and then I started getting, oh, you're not a vegan, are you? And I'm like, no, I'm plant-based, and all this. And then it was, oh, so you're not drinking alcohol? Oh, what? So you don't want a coffee? And it was all these. I felt like I was in a state of being really judged. I felt I was in a state of being. I actually felt personally attacked, which was interesting. But I also wanted to fit in, and I knew that they were just joking and giving me a bit of but for me it actually took me back to a place of wanting to belong, and the temptation kicked in, and do I have a drink? Do I just have that that food that they put in front of me? Do I just do it just to get them to leave me alone and just to change the conversation? And and it was in a state of I found it really hard to say no. I won't lie. I ended up having a little bit of alcohol, but I couldn't do anything else. It was just, and it wasn't, I think people fear change within somebody when they don't understand it. And that was where I was, and I just didn't want to explain. But the misalignment came for me within that was when I actually allowed myself to have a little bit of temptation, and my body told me the next day, You know, what are you doing? You know, and in no uncertain terms, I had massive bloating. And yeah, I felt sick and lethargic, and I couldn't get out of bed like I used to. And I went and remembered the next day doing a workout, and I had that much bad champagne. I was just feeling yuck. So I realized that I had caused massive misalignment within my body, and I wasn't honoring her. I wasn't meeting her where she at. I tipped her out of the alignment of where we were, and how I was thriving through being around an environment that wasn't probably at that time the best thing for me. So yeah, that's probably my misalignment, Karen, from you. The really the deep one that I wasn't. I was actually going to share something else, but Maya reminded me something just before we got on this call, and I said to her, I don't really have a disconnection at the moment, and then she reminded me of something. I was like, oh shit, that's right. So for me, when I got home, I went into a massive place of worrying about the future. And when I say worrying about the future, it was worrying about our financial future. My husband's gym had just been closed down. All the clients decided that they weren't going to do the online stuff. And there was a lot of financial worry. Our retreats, we had to cancel Italy, Croatia, and New Zealand retreats. So that money, people actually stopped paying. It was because, of course, the effect is happening to everybody. So and we're having to put payments on hold. We're having to meet people where they're at, which absolutely 100% we do. But of course, there's always a ripple effect, right, when something like that happens. And with him losing his job, with us having to close down the gym, it put a massive, even a bigger boom. And I had to realize that I had to fully step into my masculine. I had to absolutely, it just automatically happened. I went into an old coping mechanism of work. And I mentioned this, I think it was on the heart of the mind, I can't remember. Yeah. I was work, and I was working 24/7. I was hardly sleeping. I was just go. And I need to provide for us. I need to keep our house. I need to keep the mortgage coming in. What happens if we can't do the next couple of retreats? And and all these different things were going on in my mind. I mean, where's the money going to come from? And I went into an old coping mechanism absolutely of work, and the stress I was creating in my body was emotionally really hurting it. And I went into a big fear stage. I went into worriness. I went into inadequacy. I went into worry about the future I was really frightened. I was absolutely frightened for our future, because it just takes a few little extra other things that would have tipped over and we would have been in big trouble. There was massive amount of anxiety, fear, and the way I avoided it, the way I just did it, and the way I didn't, is I just went into massive work mode. I went into my masculine, because the person I love and myself, we could lose everything we have. And a lot of people are sitting in this state, it's the fearful state of, oh shit, where's the, what if the money doesn't come? What if? And that's where I went into a big stage of sitting in the what ifs. And the what ifs were causing massive stress in my body. It was causing physical harm, obviously, in my mind. And it was really starting to hurt my relationship because he wasn't seeing me. I was in locked quarantine for 14 days. I'm like, it's okay, babe, I got it. 14 days, I've got it. I'll build something. I'll build something. I'm good at that sort of stuff. I'm a good creator. And it was really funny because, and I'm going to share this, and I don't know why, but the day I realized what I was doing, sorry, no, it was 2 days after I realized what I was doing, and you remember this, and I was like, oh my God, I'm in my old coping mechanisms. I'm thinking I have to work 24/7. I'm not doing anything for myself. I'm not nourishing my body. I'm not in balance. I'm not grounded. I'm not sitting. There was no balance. Like my body was, and that it was constantly having to go, this way, when really it just wanted to be sitting here and the smoothness of it and the less stress. And what I realized when I realized it, and I stopped myself from doing what I was, my old patterns. And I really did probably about 48 hours of some beautiful deep work to realize that I needed to get out of this, out of my primitive mind and the survival, and go into to the knowing that I was absolutely going to be looked after. My body, that I was actually causing more distress and more harm, not my body, but also it always reflects everywhere else in your life. So it was reflecting everywhere else. Everything was at a complete standstill because I wasn't honoring my body, and I wasn't honoring myself, and I wasn't honoring where I needed to be right now. And I remember messaging you. It was like 48 hours later when I sat in the stillness that I got, was it 3 clients? Boom, boom, boom. And then what was it? 4 days later, I got another 2. And it was like, okay, I get it. The stillness is where it happens. So, and I wasn't actually going to share that, but yeah, I thought that it was really nice to hear that, you know, it didn't have to be in the state of stress, of going, of disconnection within myself, because it was reflecting everywhere else. It was reflecting in my community. It was reflecting in what I wasn't doing my morning practice to the best of my ability because I was like full on working, and it was reflecting everywhere. It was reflecting in everybody around me, and all the collective. You know, I was pouring what my emotions into the reflection of everything around me. And I suppose that the one other thing that I wanted to share, which I was going to share if we've got time, Maya.
Sure.
We've got time. Is I sort of got this downloaded to me last night, and I think when we get to a stage where our bodies can't handle it anymore, what I was talking about yesterday and Maya was talking about it before, the signals go to the body to say, okay, the disease now needs to kick in. Something needs to happen. Something needs to stop her where she is from what she's doing. And whether it's, whether it's my body shuts down because it's so tight, and Maya was mentioning her stuff, you know, we get our bodies, just like Mother Earth has just done to her. She's got to a stage and she's like, fuck you, I'm shutting everything down. I need to rejuvenate because otherwise this is it, guys. Our bodies are exactly the same. It's such a reflection. It's such a mirror. So when I got to the stage of, I was like, well, what the hell am I doing? Like, I'm exhausted. No, I've got to keep going. Got to make money. Got to make money. Got to make money. No, you've got to sit and you've got to be. And my body gave me so many signals until finally it gave me a real big one. And that was the anxiety attack I talked about on the first day I went out. And then I drank the alcohol for 24 hours, and you could just see everything was collectively happening within my body, and then it just went, nah, stuff this. And it's exactly the same, you know, because it's scientifically known that when you have a certain amount, too much stress in your body or within you, or you have too much emotional upheaval, especially stress, your body starts signaling, oh, you're eating really bad, or you're doing all this collective stuff within yourself. Your body starts to shut down, and it sends a signal to say, okay, there's so much of this, and we're sitting in this much of, not alkaline, what's opposite to alkaline? Acidity. We're sitting in this much acidity now with the stress and the food and the self-neglect and the not moving the body. We now need to start shutting down, and it starts causing disease. And that was the state I was at. I had so much anxiety, stress, and I just was not resting and honoring myself that my body started shutting down. So I just really felt cool to share that, because it's a deep feeling of listen to your body. Absolutely listen to it in every single moment of every single day. What do you need right now? Where do you need to go? Do you need to move your body? Do you need to stop? Do you need to nourish it? Do you need water? And Maya talked about a lot of this yesterday and before, and I just really feel strongly called to give that a real big nudge, because right now your body doesn't need any more stress. It doesn't need any more uncertainty. It doesn't need any more unknowing. It doesn't need any more turmoil, worry, anything like that, you know. Where at the moment, as Maya said, we're doing the best we can with where we are, and we need to make sure that we're honoring the body most above anything else. Otherwise we'll get shut down, same as what's happening on Mother Earth.
Very well said, Lisa. I couldn't have said that better myself. I would just like to add, like, again, that message that Lisa and I both got a few days ago, which was to protect fiercely the mind, the body, and the soul. And, you know, with these examples that we've given you, I can give you so many other examples as well, but I'm going to stop. you know, we would, I think what we'd like for you to ask yourselves is, you know, really, where are you not listening to the body and not honoring the body, and instead allowing other people to
Mm.
um, dictate how you treat your body and what you do with your body. And if during this period, there's this voice within you that is asking you to make some changes that you could make if you just um, make the commitment to make it, and that's it. Regardless of what the collective mind, what your immediate community might have, what their opinion might be, or that sense of belonging. Because right now we are in 2020 now, and luckily, unlike 30 years ago, 30 years ago, back in 1996, when people were smoking time and that was socially accepted, when people were drinking all of the time, when people never thought of water fasting or cleansing or any of those things, and when vegetarianism and veganism was still very much a fringe and extremist idea. There were no supports then. There were no vegan meals or vegan restaurants or juice bars or any of those things back then. So regardless of what your immediate community might be telling you, or your immediate your collective cluster might be demanding of you, perhaps it's time for you to protect fiercely your body right now and move into those spaces, listen to that voice, and move into those spaces of doing what's right for you. Remember, everybody is completely different. We all have different stresses. We all have different life experiences. We all have different body types and blood types. So the only person who can know what's best for your body is you, and that's it. And no one else can tell me, for example, that I need to eat a certain meal at a certain time every day that has certain things in it, and that I will be healthy if I do that. It's me that knows my body, and it's me that knows how my body works best and how it rejuvenates and repairs itself best. I'm the one who decides that. So I just want to give you this opportunity and this moment to move into that space of self-empowerment and knowing. And of course, Lisa and I are here for you if you need any guidance or any support or any encouragement. We're definitely here for you.
Mm. Mm. Oh, I love that self-empowerment. That sent chills down my spine. It's true, isn't it? We're always told all the time what we should and shouldn't be doing, when really, I wrote a post about that this morning, but anyway. Um, so that's all, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. What we can do now is we can go ahead and move you all into a short meditation.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And connection with Mother Earth's body through her language, and then we'll go ahead and end the video with that. So
Cool. Sounds good.
if you want to go ahead and find yourself in a comfortable position and begin to focus on the breath. And as you focus on your inhalations and your exhalations, feel the air moving in and out of your body. Feel the air moving in and out of the lungs. Feel the consequence of the movement of air against the diaphragm and in the abdomen. And begin to focus on the exhalations and the warm air that brushes against the nostrils each time you exhale. And let your exhalations drop you down into the base of the abdomen. Let your exhalations drop you down into the coccyx, the tailbone, and the sitting bones. And let your exhalations move you into the soles of the feet. And as you exhale, imagine threads of light extending down from the tailbone and the coccyx, weaving down from the sitting bones, weaving with the threads of light from the tailbone, from the soles of your feet, weaving down through the building you're in, through the floor. And observe how, with grace and ease, these threads of light weave down through all sorts of matter, weaving down through the foundations of the building you're in, and beginning to weave down through the mud and the earth. As these lines of light thread with each other and weave down through the earth, through the mineral and rock, all the way down to Mother Earth's core. And as you exhale, these threads of light connect now with the red hot molten lava center of Mother Earth's core. With your exhalations, you have a deep connection with Mother Earth's core, where in her infinite wisdom, her infinite intelligence, any and all of your cares and worries are released. Any and all of your dis-ease, dysfunction is released as you exhale along these threads of light that connect with Mother Earth's core. And as you connect with the core of Mother Earth, you can begin to hear her voice and her language.
Urukua ia ishua ni atahia murukuata. Ia burukua sasia shunua natahia. Ika kurukua moa nai awayata kurukua sashitati. Ia burua ni anakura kiau ayashrua mayano ayapuaya ayapuaya. Torokua shisia nai kurua mai akua kua. Chisuana ia tahiana yakoa rokua mati. Isha, 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 isha. Ia korokua ia wania o akua mata ia o ashata. Si bakua maya kuaka. Titatia ia korokutu. Shianiana. Ia motua kia pukua. Mia shututrokuaya siane ya umayakuaya luaya. Now I want you to take a beautiful inhale.
And as you inhale and connect with Mother Earth's core up through the threads of light. Inhale up through the mineral and the rock and the earth. Inhale up through the foundations of the building you're in, up through the floors. As these beautiful threads of light easily weave up into the body, through the soles of the feet, through the tailbone and the sitting bones. Inhale up into the abdomen. Breathe deeply into the abdomen and connect with the expansion of the abdomen. Inhale up into the chest. Breathe deeply. Fill the chest with your inhalations and connect deeply with these inhalations. Inhale up into the throat. Allow the throat muscles to relax as you inhale and open the throat, inhaling deeply. And with the next inhalation, begin to wiggle your toes and wiggle your fingers. And you can open your eyes.
Yummy, yummy, yummy. Sorry, guys, I got a little bit too meditated and I forgot to come in and do the language. That's all right. I woke up at perfect time. So thank you. Is there anything else you want to say, beautiful? You're good. So
Take it away.
I love the way you do this to me. I'm in this real la-la state. So thank you so much for once again coming in and joining us. If you really love this, we're going to come in here so much more on YouTube I'm talking about right now. So hit the subscribe button. And we'll be sending out the link for our new Mind, Body and Soul, the Sacred Connection YouTube channel, which Mara and I just created, which we're very, very excited about. And also, if you're in the group right now, and you're doing the actual training, or if you're not in the group and you'd like to join, there's still absolutely time. This is going to be up for another couple of weeks, so you can just start going through the days and start going through the beautiful tasks that we put in there. So go onto Facebook, and it's the Mind, Body and Soul, the Sacred Connection, and join us. There's over 910 beautiful people, men and women, in the community, and it's such a yummy place to be. And we do these sort of things a lot, Myra and I. We do individual stuff as well in there, and it's a place where it's really expansive, and it's a place where you can completely just share what you need to share, and and everybody heals at such a beautiful space. The energy is amazing, and so is the vibration. So we hope to have you all in there with all the other brothers and sisters. And if you're watching this, the tasks I've actually now putting them in the actual live thread, and then I'm updating the pin post. So you've got two places now you can go to. Now, doing the extra post was getting a little bit confusing because it's moving so fast. Everybody's sharing so much, and there's just so much activity going on. So things were getting lost. So always look at the pin post if you need something. The next live will be, and we're actually hoping to do a live on Monday, or it will definitely be on Wednesday. Wednesday, moving forward, will definitely be lives. So same time as always, 11 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time, and we will see you all there. Sending you all so much. Actually, I think the links are down below too, if you want to join everything. Anyway, sending you all so much love from Maya and I. Mwah. See you guys.